What if everything you thought you knew about The Walking Dead was just a hallucination inside Rick's mind? From outlandish fan theories to hints dropped by the creators themselves, the origins of the wildfire virus have inspired countless ideas. Let's start by diving into one of the most popular and most firmly rejected theories that challenges the very reality of the entire story. Rick's coma dream theory. The idea that everything in The Walking Dead is just Rick Grimes' prolonged coma. Hallucination is one of the most enduring fan theories around. At first glance, it's almost poetic. Rick wakes up in a hospital, and what follows could be his brain's desperate attempt to make sense of trauma through an elaborate dream. It has that irresistible psychological allure, the kind of twist ending that reshapes everything and invites you to reread the entire story as symbolism and metaphor. But here's the thing. The creators have explicitly shut this down. Robert Kirkman, the comics creator and a key figure in the show's making, has repeatedly rejected this theory as incompatible with his vision. He calls the idea cliché and says he would never end the story with Rick just waking up from a dream. Showrunners and even actors have echoed this dismissal, treating the coma theory more like a playful fan joke than a serious option capable of carrying the franchise forward. And I can prove it. The narrative itself doesn't hold up to a coma dream reading. So much of the story happens outside Rick's conscious perspective, from parallel storylines in Fear the Walking Dead to flashbacks of events Rick couldn't possibly have known about. Not to mention the global timeline and key events reported by institutions like the CDC, which clearly paint wildfire as an external reality unfolding on a worldwide scale. That's a hard wall no dream state can overcome. Fans initially embraced the theory because it allowed a neat explanation of the apocalypse and gave characters allegorical weight. But as the franchise expanded, with multiple overlapping timelines and in-depth world-building, this interpretation lost steam. Now it's mostly treated as a tongue-in-cheek in-joke within the community, rather than a genuine prediction or interpretation. The evidence for Rick's coma dream? It's thin. Mostly imaginative speculation built on the familiar comfort of "it was all a dream" endings, but lacking any solid canonical support. The creators have spoken, and the story's scope and facts break the dream illusion at every turn. But if you thought a coma twist was wild, wait until you hear about the alien space spores theory. The alien space spores. The idea that the wildfire virus came crashing down to Earth on alien spores hitching a ride on a meteor is one of the most out there theories in the Walking Dead fandom. Unlike some myths, this one didn't start from any official tweet or statement by Robert Kirkman, the creator. It's purely fan speculation, fueled by the name Wildfire and the sci-fi vibe of spores spreading infection. So right off the bat, this theory leans entirely on imaginative leaps rather than anything the creators have acknowledged. Before you get too excited about cosmic horror vibes, the show itself gives zero indication that wildfire has anything to do with extraterrestrials. There's no mention of space phenomena, meteor impacts, or alien biology in any flashbacks or scientific discussions. The virus origins are grounded firmly in human hands and earthly laboratories. Dr. Jenner's CDC briefings, the timeline of the outbreak, and the clues scattered throughout World Beyond all point to a terrestrial pathogen with a logical if mysterious evolutionary path. That said, the scientific appeal of spores surviving in space isn't just fan fiction. Real spores can indeed endure extreme environments, including the vacuum of space and intense radiation, which feeds a tantalizing sense of plausibility. It's easy to picture a comet blasting through Earth's atmosphere and dropping microscopic organisms capable of infecting humanity, a classic sci-fi horror staple that's tough to resist. Fans love this theory for its campy, cosmic horror flavor. It aligns with genre traditions where alien contamination sparks apocalyptic plagues, pulling Walking Dead into a realm shared by movies like The Thing or The Andromeda Strain. The alien spores idea also provides a convenient external culprit. Humans aren't to blame, it's just the universe being cruel. This resonates with some fans as a way to frame the apocalypse beyond human responsibility or failure. But here's the kicker. The alien space spores theory rests on zero canonical evidence. No creator statements hint at it, no scenes or dialogue mention space or alien origins. Nothing backs it up in the show's internal logic. Basically, it's fan-driven speculation riding on the coattails of genre tropes rather than anything the story confirms. This phenomenon, the way fan imagination can invent full-blown theories, shows just how eager audiences are for answers and how they latch on to even the smallest breadcrumbs. And the allure of cosmic threats taps into deep-seated fears and narrative traditions, making the theory persist long after its canonical credibility has evaporated. If you think an alien origin is wild, just wait until we dive into how the virus might have contaminated something much closer to home, the water supply contamination. The idea that the wildfire virus traveled through contaminated water sounds pretty plausible at first glance. I mean, walk into any well, take a sip, and you'd hope zombies aren't swimming around in there. This theory got traction partly because of that infamous Well Walker episode on Herschel's farm, the one where a bloated, decomposing walker was trapped in the community's drinking well. Everyone immediately thought, great, the water's contaminated now, and AMC even cheekily acknowledged this fear on their social media. But here's the thing, the show treats water contamination mostly as a bacterial problem, causing the kind of illnesses you avoid drinking dirty water for, like infections or diarrhea, not zombification. Before you write off the water theory, though, hear me out. It's an appealing metaphor for environmental collapse and infrastructure failure. The idea that the apocalypse isn't just some virus overtaking brains, but also humanity poisoning its own life sources fits with The Walking Dead's world where clean water is rare, plumbing is shot, and society's fragile systems are falling apart. But the canonical truth shatters this neat symbolic link. Dr. Jenner at the CDC flatly explains, wildfire is a virus that's latent in everyone and kicks in only upon death. It's a brain-invading pathogen spread through airborne particles or direct contact, not something you catch from drinking water. The Well Walker episode itself only highlights localized bacterial contamination, not viral spread. Characters fear gastrointestinal sickness, not instant zombification from a single gulp. Walkers in the show do not infect others by polluting water supplies. Their threat is physical bites and proximity. In fact, if water contamination were a main transmission mode, the entire series' universal infection premise would break. Everyone already carries wildfire in their blood, regardless of whether they drink safe water or uncontaminated water. So while the water contamination theory offers a juicy environmental allegory about neglect, pollution, and infrastructure collapse, the actual evidence in the show is thin. The threat from dirty water is bacterial and health-related, not directly viral or apocalyptic. And Jenner's explanation about how wildfire works contradicts waterborne transmission entirely. Fans keep returning to this theory for its symbolic power rather than solid transmission science. It taps into the haunting image of humanity literally drinking its own death, but it can't hold up as a literal explanation for the virus spreading. If you think water contamination is weird, just wait until we dive into the dormant retrovirus theory, which explains how the virus hides in every human and activates only when they die. Wildfire is literally inside every human, whether they know it or not. That fact alone is mind-blowing. The virus lies dormant in each person, waiting for the trigger to activate. Death. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just some short-term infection. Wildfire behaves like a retrovirus, meaning it integrates itself into human DNA, lying quietly until the host dies. And I can prove it. At face value, Dr. Edwin Jenner's CDC briefing tells us wildfire invades the brain and causes adrenal hemorrhaging, organ failure, and ultimately death. Then the virus partially reanimates the brainstem, giving walkers their rudimentary motor control and hunger for flesh. What Jenner describes fits perfectly with the idea of a virus that's inside you all along but doesn't turn on until death triggers it. It's not infection by bite, it's an embedded condition. Retroviruses work by converting their RNA into DNA and inserting that viral code into the host genome. This integration means the virus can be passed down from generation to generation and stay hidden for years or decades. That's exactly the kind of latent behavior wildfire displays, silent and universal until it's activated by death. Nearly every human in the Walking Dead universe carries wildfire latently. It's bone deep in their biology. The CDC timeline supports this too. Jenner mentions wildfire was declared 194 days ago and went global 63 days ago, suggesting a fast but airborne spread of the virus directly infecting nearly everyone. That kind of systemic infection lines up better with retroviral integration than with a prion or a conventional virus. The fact that the virus moves through the bloodstream and nervous system, invading major organs before death, also backs the retroviral systemic model. Fans debate whether wildfire might be a prion, a misfolded protein disease like mad cow, or a totally novel virus, but the latent infection model holds the strongest water because it aligns with every canonical fact: universal infection, airborne spread, brain invasion, reanimation after death. Retrovirus may be the best real-world analogy, even if The Walking Dead never outright uses the term. Here's the thing, explaining wildfire as a dormant retrovirus gives us a biological mechanism that's both plausible and digestible. It's like the virus has hacked humanity's genome for silent survival, waiting for death's signal to flip the switch. Imagine a genetic parasite that everyone carries, ticking away invisibly until it bursts out with gruesome consequences after death. That's grim, but it just fits too well. The theory also explains why walker bites aren't necessary infections. You could drop dead from exhaustion or illness, and boom, you still turn. Wildfire is latent in everyone. Bites just speed up death, but don't cause the infection itself. That's a crucial distinction that sets this theory apart from simpler contagion models. Obviously, none of this is spelled out explicitly in the show. Retrovirus remains an interpretation rather than a fact. But the textual and scientific clues add up to moderate evidence quality for this theory. It's not just fan speculation, it's a reasoned way to connect canon with our understanding of biology. If you think this is creepy, just wait. The next theory takes us into the world of human experimentation, where wildfire isn't a natural virus at all, but a bioweapon or a cure gone horribly wrong. The idea that the wildfire virus is a human-made bioweapon or a failed medical cure might sound like a B-movie plot, but it's one of the most compelling theories in the Walking Dead universe. The core claim is, wildfire wasn't a natural outbreak. Instead, it was cooked up in a lab, either as a weapon for population control or as an attempt to restore brain function after death. And whatever the goal, it went horribly wrong. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. Dr. Edwin Jenner's explanation at the CDC is key. He says only a small part of the brain, especially the brainstem, comes back to life after death, causing reanimation. The idea that researchers were trying to restore brain function but failed catastrophically fuels a story about a medical experiment gone sideways. This fits with the idea of a cure that backfired and mutated into an uncontrollable virus. Later entries in the franchise also lean into this theory. The French biomedical facility La Biomédecine, shown in The Walking Dead World Beyond, is widely believed to have conducted viral research linked to wildfire. Graffiti and dialogue in the post-credit scene accuse its scientists of causing the apocalypse. Fans have pieced together the timeline too. The virus going airborne and leaking out around early 2010 matches when that lab was active, lining up with Dr. Jenner's CDC timeline. One popular fan theory takes it further. Scientists tested experimental brain restoration on brain-dead mice or patients, which then reanimated uncontrollably, bit staph, and sparked an outbreak. It sounds like mad science, but it fits the clues. Then there's the darker spin, that wildfire was intentionally engineered as a bioweapon for population control. The idea that governments, overwhelmed by overpopulation or resources, developed a viral weapon that escaped containment is popular among conspiracy-minded fans. It's the classic science gone wrong dystopian theme wrapped in a virus apocalypse. Of course, there's no direct canon proof, no characters confessing it, no secret files revealed. Mostly, it comes from distrust of shadowy agencies like the CDC or the Civic Republic military. Here's where it gets weird and ethically complicated. This theory taps into real-world horrors of medical or military projects gone catastrophically wrong. Scientific overreach, messing with neural reanimation, or weaponizing viruses. These are the moral quandaries The Walking Dead loves. The plague becomes a metaphor, not just for death, but for human hubris trying to beat it. The cure, meant to save lives, turns into the death of civilization. But the evidence is mixed. It's not a slam dunk confirmed origin. We never get a straight-up lab accident confession or government admission. Instead, the show drops partial hints, contextual clues, and narrative suggestions. Dr. Jenner's dialogue, the French lab's viral research, and fan timelines all point to significant human involvement, but the specifics remain frustratingly vague. It's like the writers want us to wonder about the ethical cost of science without spelling everything out. Still, many fans embrace this moderate evidence theory because it matches the mood and themes perfectly. Wildfire as human experimentation gone wrong fits The Walking Dead better than alien spores or random zombie dreams. It paints the virus as a dark legacy of human ambition no one controlled. So to sum up, the bioweapon/cure gone wrong theory suggests wildfire started as a biomedical experiment aiming to cure brain death or a population control weapon gone rogue. It's supported by Dr. Jenner's brain reactivation explanation, the French lab leak implications, and fan reconstructions of lab accidents. The darker government control spin is more speculative but culturally resonant. Though total confirmation is missing, it deeply aligns with the series' themes of unintended consequences and human hubris in science. But if you think that's dark, just wait till we dive into the French biomedical lab leak next, where these theories get even more grounded in concrete canonical detail. This is the closest thing the Walking Dead franchise has to an official origin story for the wildfire virus. Far from wild speculation or vague rumors, the French biomedical lab leak theory grounds the apocalypse in one very specific concrete event: a catastrophic containment breach at La Biomédecine, also known as DDMI, a biomedical research facility located in France. This isn't just some throwaway plot device, it's a central piece of the franchise puzzle. Before you roll your eyes and groan about another generic lab leak trope, hear me out. This theory is backed by direct narrative content, timeline evidence perfectly aligning with in-show CDC data, and integration across multiple entries in the franchise that no other explanation even comes close to matching. Rather than leaving wildfire's origin shrouded in mystery or supernatural mumbo-jumbo, the lab leak explanation paints the virus as a product of human error, scientific ambition that spiraled completely out of control. La Biomédecine literally appears on screen in The Walking Dead, World Beyond's post-credit scene. It's a grim, cramped lab, walls scrawled with angry graffiti blaming the scientists inside for the trials that triggered society's collapse. A returning researcher faces heated accusations from locals who claim her experiments unleashed mutant variants of the virus, variants that quickly turned lethal. Locked chambers, high-security equipment, and viral samples scattered across tables hint at intense viral bioengineering and experimentation that tie this lab directly to the outbreak's origins. The scene packs an emotional punch. It's not just about lab technicians losing control, but a gutting betrayal felt by the survivors who lived through the fallout. Then there's the timeline evidence, which adds serious weight to this explanation. In Season 1's CDC episodes, Dr. Jenner notes the virus was identified roughly 194 days ago, with 63 days since it went global. AMC officially confirmed Monument Day, the moment civilization collapsed, was August 27, 2010. Counting backward places the virus discovery in mid-April 2010, which matches up exactly with La Biomédecine's documented period of activity in franchise lore. This isn't a coincidence. The dates sync perfectly with global outbreak data, suggesting that this lab's leak triggered what should have been a contained biohazard into an uncontrollable worldwide airborne pandemic within a matter of months. The CDC's internal data confirms wildfire became airborne in early 2010. That tracks flawlessly with the moment La Biomédecine lost containment. This wasn't some rogue rat escaping a cage. The virus literally went airborne, transforming into a super communicable pathogen that silently spread through human populations with brutal efficiency. This fits the show's canonical trait that everyone is already infected with wildfire. Regardless of walker bites, the virus only activates upon death. What began as a confined bioexperiment, mutated by human error, exploded into a global nightmare beyond anyone's control. Fan debates bubble over whether La Biomédecine actually created the original virus, or if they accidentally unleashed or mutated an existing pathogen in the process of experimental work. Whether that was attempts at brain function restoration, neural regeneration, or dark bioweapon research targeting population control. The post-credit scenes focus on variant strains stemming from their experiments, deepen suspicions that their bioengineering efforts triggered dangerous viral evolution on an unprecedented level. Even Dr. Jenner's CDC dialogue about partial brain reactivation gone wrong supports the notion that this outbreak wasn't natural, but intrinsically connected to medical experiments on neural tissue. Here's where it gets weird. Despite how definitive the lab leak theory seems, the franchise never lays out every grim detail explicitly. There's no neat in-universe, this is exactly what happened documentary or confession. Instead, The Walking Dead, World Beyond, and carefully codified franchise wikis fill in the blanks with implication, subtext, and scattered facts. The story strikes a balance, grounded enough to satisfy apocalyptic lore hunters, but steeped in enough deliberate mystery to keep the horror palpable and the full extent of the lab's guilt unknowable. This narrative approach fits The Walking Dead's style perfectly, offering just enough specificity to satiate fans craving a real origin while preserving the tragic ambiguity and underlying dread of unseen horrors still lurking beneath the surface. The French biomedical lab leak story lets the wildfire virus remain a potent symbol of human hubris and the catastrophic fallout of unchecked scientific ambition. It cuts through earlier, more hand-wavy fan theories about coma-induced dreams, alien spores, or unexplained supernatural causes, and brings a grimly believable route to the apocalypse. The community widely accepts the French biomedical lab leak as the closest thing to an official explanation ever provided. It pops up in franchise wikis, fan-created timelines, official dialogue, and pivotal narrative moments, giving this theory unmatched credibility and cohesion. While other theories linger as allegories or supplemental guesses, none come close to the depth and consistency of this one. In short, the French biomedical lab leak ties everything together: the virus's airborne traits, its specific timeline, detailed epidemiological data from in-universe CDC databases, and the messy moral questions of human error unleashed on a global scale. Wildfire isn't just a random disease or cosmic disaster, it's a biohazard born out of concrete, traceable scientific decisions, a pandemic triggered inside a sterile lab far removed from the chaos it would eventually unleash. And that's exactly why this theory has stuck around and prevailed for years. It's not just plausible, it fits the Walking Dead universe's puzzle pieces in ways no other origin story does. It grounds the horror in human fallibility, which, frankly, is far scarier. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.